Good evening, everyone. It's Arsh Ellahi. Hope you're well. It is Sunday. I think we're on the 6th, or Sunday the 7th of January 2018. First of all, congratulations, making it through the first week of the year. Hopefully, it's been a productive week for you. Now, tonight, what we're going to be talking about? We're going to be talking about deal trading in its simplest form and how, with no deposit, no experience, you can still do this. So trading property, no money down, made easy. So we're going to go through the slides. So if you are on listening to this via Instagram, whether you listen to this through Facebook or whether you listen to this live on YouTube, you're more than welcome to join the webinar live, which is in the, we've left the link in the actual post for you to join us. One thing I will ask is for the guys that are on the webinar, and if you are watching online, can you just say a quick hello? Let me know that you can hear me nicely, loudly and clearly so that we can start moving on. I want to thank you so much for trusting me with your time this evening. I appreciate time is the most precious commodity. And I want to make sure that you're using this time to the best of your advantage, which will make it the best investment that you'll make. So what we're going to be covering in 90 minutes. So in 90 minutes, we're going to be covering the 3-step process to deal trading success. We're going to be looking at the fastest way to make property cash flow. We'll be looking at the number of deals traded in 2017. We've also, one of the things I haven't mentioned on here, we're going to be talking in great depth about how a person managed to deal trade whilst being abroad. We're going to be looking at the kind of deals that they traded in 2017. And then finally, we're going to show how to get started with no money and no experience. So if you can say, just let me know that you're on the right webinar and you can hear me nice and loud and clearly. Fantastic. So everyone on the webinars, say it's fine. If you're watching this on social media, feel free to share the social media. Feel free to share the post to get some of your friends knowing what you're about to do or what you're about to embark on. Because if you ever hear this saying, tell everyone what you do. And as a result of that, you'll, believe it or not, excuse me, if you tell everyone what you do, believe it or not, people will start to get intrigued and interested in what you do. And as a result of that, you may have a new JV partner, you may have a new business partner, you may have someone that's got the cash and you've got the time. So there are a number of different opportunities, but if they don't know what you're doing, how are they meant to know? So why should you listen to me? First of all, I'm a best-selling author of a book called Boom Bust and Back Again. And as the title suggests, it's never always been an easy journey for me on property. I'm a monthly columnist of two very well-known UK property magazines, which is YPN, Your Property Network, and the HMO magazine. You could say that I've been a bit of a property veteran. I've been involved in property nearly full-time, nearly 18 years now. So I've seen and heard it, most of it, would I say, and I've also managed to survive the brink of bust of recession. Started deal trading, business on student side savings. We'll talk about that shortly. Most and more, well, I'll say I'm a property investment trainer and a mentor that's helped hundreds of people achieve financial freedom. But one thing that I do always suggest is that first and foremost for me is that I'm a property investor first and foremost. And this year alone, 2017, purchased 50 properties for my own portfolio. So for those that know Wolverhampton, yeah, I bought 2 blocks of flats. One block had 14 and the other block had 10 in. So completed on those just before Christmas, and they're working quite nicely. So let's keep moving on because we've got 90 minutes of full content. So what is your reason why? Everyone talks about what this reason why is. Now the reason why is a reason why you do everything that you do. So why do you get up early in the morning? Why do you go to work? Now, for those that know me, especially on social media, there's no secret that my reason why, very simply, is my family. So in the picture there, you got my wife and you got two very young children, and there was us on holiday. I think that picture was actually taken on Christmas Day last year. So that's my reason why. Now, the one thing that I want you to do, whether you're listening on Facebook, whether you're listening on Instagram, whether you're listening on YouTube, just put in the comments box, or even if you're listening on the webinar, just put in the comments box, what is your reason why? Why are you trying to escape what you're doing at the moment? So whether you're in a full-time occupation job, why is it that you're intrigued in property? What would this reason why look for you? So for argument's sake, a lot of people will put, I want to achieve financial freedom. But what does financial freedom to you? What does financial freedom mean to you? Does that mean escaping the rat race, spending more time with your family, spending more time with your kids, taking your kids and your family on more holidays? You know, I've heard hundreds, not thousands, of reasons why. One of the people that we're going to be hearing about shortly is a chap called Raheel, and his reason why very much is to escape a 12-hour day, 7 days a week rat race. As a result of that, he's going to have more time for his family. As a result of that, he's going to have more quality time with his family. As a result of that, he's going to have a better family life. You know, so that's where we go with that. So just having a quick look at what's come through. So okay, so Jay says, like you, it's my family. Like you, it's my family all the way. I want to spend more time with my family. I want to pass some property on to my children. Hi Cuthbert, hope you're well. Some people want to retire early. Some people want income. Some people want to cater for their families. I want to be significantly free to buy my time back and help people do the same. And then Beverly's coming in, she says, being debt-free, being able to spend more time with their family. So as you can see, there's quite a number of different reasons whys there, but pretty much it is all to do with family, spare time, more time, and moving. And as a result, once you've got more time, you decide what you do with that time, whether you spend it with your family, whether you go on holiday. So let's keep moving on. So I'm going to keep looking at the questions as we go through. So if there are any questions, feel free to put them in. So what are your property goals for 2008? There's one thing having your reason why. There's another thing is setting yourself goals. So for 2018, what are your goals? Are your goals to simply quit your job, make property, pay for luxuries such as a car, holiday or clothes, help your kids get on the property ladder, help your kids get through university, possibly pay for your daughter's wedding? You know, again, feel free to list these, because it's only once you start writing these down that you actually start to realise what your goals are. And I'll be talking shortly about short, medium and long-term goals as well. More importantly, once you've listed them, you've got to start to have a look at what does success look like for you. Does success look in a form of a monetary value? So it could be £5,000 a month, could be £10,000 a month, could be £15,000 or £20,000 a month. Or could it be the fact that you've been able to quit your job? Or has it been that you've been able to write your own resignation letter? Has it been that you've got to a certain amount of properties? If you manage to get that time with your family? Because the most important question is that if you've got your goal set, the question that I've got to ask you now is, how are you going to get there? What strategy are you going to embark on? So is it going to be deal trading? Is it going to be rent to rent? Is it going to be, you know, commercial to residential? What is it going to be? Are you going to buy more HMOs? Are you going to buy more single lets? Or are you going to jump on the Bitcoin bandwagon? You know, what is it that, how are you going to get there? Because one thing there's one thing setting the goal, it's the second thing setting the journey. So moving on. So one or two of these slides may be very similar to what we saw last week, but please just bear in mind that there are only one or two. The rest of them are completely fresh content. So what is deal trading? Very simply, it's a matchmaking service where you bring together the buyers and the sellers that would never have previously found each other and give them a safe and simple way to do business. The way that I like to just call myself as a deal, well, let's get this clear. There's lots of different terminologies. So you could call yourself a deal sourcer, deal packager, deal trader, some people call themselves a flipping service. I'm not so sure that that's the right terminology. But the way that I believe that we all operate, regardless, is that we're almost like a glorified estate agent. Because in essence, what we're doing, we're putting the buyer and the seller together. But as a result of our entrepreneurial nature, we're able to make a lot more in the terms of fees, and we're able, as a result of us being able to work nationally, gives us a far greater opportunity to work and do a lot more deals. So giving you an example, if you're estate agents in Liverpool, they wouldn't generally go and find a property in Scotland to sell, purely because of geographical nature. Whereas as a deal trader, because you're not stuck to your desk in that location, you could trade pretty much nationwide. So it's a service that helps homeowners that have previously been let down by estate agents. And you've got to think of this every time we talk and every time we bring up a new bullet point. You've got to start to think of this from your point of view. Have you tried to sell a property? Has the estate agent actually serviced your requirements? If they hadn't, had you thought of looking for alternative options as to how you could sell your property? And could that have been going through like an auction route? Could it have been trying to sell your property to one of these quick sell companies or quick buying property companies? And technically speaking, a deal trader is a service that helps property investors, because unlike traditional estate agents, their market predominantly is to sell properties to homeowners or future homeowners. Yes, they may have a few investors that are purchasing a few properties off them, but as a deal trader, predominantly we're not selling to the end user, being a homeowner. Well, you may do, you may sell a few, but in the whole 18 years that I've been doing this, I don't think I've ever sold one to a person looking to live in it themselves. It's always been an investor, or I've either sold it through methods such as auction, etc. We'll go through those shortly. So why do I love deal trading? Very simply, you see on screen there, we've got a picture of HSBC, we've got a picture of a padlock. Now, I'm very fortunate in the respect that I've already got a decent sized property portfolio. However, when people hear that, they automatically think flash kit. However, the other thing that you've got to think of is that along comes with a large property portfolio, also comes a large level of debt, because regardless of who you are, you will have some form of leverage, some bank funding and leverage against your portfolio. So don't be, when people say that they're 200-300 properties, whatever it may be, you've also got to think that unless they own them outright, they're still, unfortunately, hate to say it, and I know that we've got a lot of property investors on there, we're still the slave to the bank, because unfortunately, until you've actually paid off all that debt, you're not financially free, or you're not actually free. And I make no qualms about this, but that's the way I look at it. So I've set my goal very simply and very early on. My goal is very simple. I want to retire on the 11th of November 2025 at 11:59 p.m. How can I be so specific? Feel free to, this is a really important point. How can I be so specific that on the 11th of November 2025 at 11:59 p.m. that I'm going to retire? What is so significant about that date? What is so significant about that time? The answer is very simple. When the clock strikes midnight and it turns to the 12th of November 2025, I actually turn 45 years old. And that is the moment that I also become debt-free. So I've structured all my debt in a manner where it all goes to zero. Does that kind of make sense? So I've set my goal very early on. What I now need is a vehicle to get me to that period, because cash flow is one thing, and cash flow is great, but in order to be able to pay down chunks of debt, I need something of great significance, and deal trading has allowed me to do that. We'll be talking about the kind of figures and the kind of deals that we've done in 2017, which gives you an indication of the kind of volume that we've done. So, what is the basics of deal trading? So, first and foremost, there's 3 people associated in the transaction. We've got the vendor, who is step number 1. He's the person looking to sell their property. So they approach you to sell their property. Then you've got step number 2, who is you, who's almost like the glorified estate agent. You look at the property, you assess the deal, you look at the angle, you see how it could become profitable, and you package the deal. And then step number 3 is that providing the deal is good enough, you then package it, post it out to your network. So whether that be via email, you know, for the guys that listen to this now, how many of you guys have received an email off me probably 2 times a day with different deals? So with deals up in Liverpool, deals down towards Bournemouth, and everywhere in between. You know, we've done deals up towards Scotland, so we've pretty much covered the breadth of the country. And that email only goes out after we've passed steps 1 and 2. So we've managed to assess the deal, we've managed to assess that it's a decent deal and it's a profitable deal, and we've put it out to our investor database, who is the purchaser, who will then buy the property from you on the basis that the property makes financial and commercial sense. Does that kind of make sense, guys? Is there anything that I've said so far that has made you ask any questions? Feel free to ask away. The one thing that I am going to do is we are going to bring this live feed. So whether you're listening on Facebook, whether you're listening on Instagram or YouTube, we are going to bring these live feeds to an end. If you want to follow on with the rest of the session, in the opening post, you'll see a link which starts with a bit.ly, so bit.ly, and you've got the full link there. Feel free to click on that and join us for the rest of the session. So I want to thank you for being online, and I'll speak to you all soon. Take care. Thank you. Good night. So guys, now we're strictly only on the webinar now, so thank you very much for being with us. Excuse me. I will one day get rid of this cough, believe it or not. So step 3 is the buyer. That's the person that's purchasing the property off you. So it's gone out on email. Just out of curiosity, the people that listen on the webinar. Okay, so Abdul, you said that you want the link. You're already on the webinar, my friend, so you don't need to worry about the link. That was only for people who listen on Facebook and on Instagram and YouTube. Okay, so has everyone seen an email that comes out from me with property deals that we send out? We haven't sent any out this week. We've been just getting back into the swing of it. We're just getting back into the swing of it, but deals will be coming out as from tomorrow. Okay, so Glenn straight away has come in with a question. It's a great question. He goes, how does one develop a network of purchasers? Believe it or not, Glenn, that's pretty much straightforward, because I'll give you the easiest and simplest way. If you've got a deal and you think it stacks up and you haven't got a database like I've got a database, very easily you could just post that on social media. There's a couple of things that you need to do. You need to make sure that obviously you're secure on the property, which means that you're not going to be able to get cut out. So you need some form of option agreement. You need some form of exclusivity agreement, which is what I use. Exclusivity agreement. This gives me exclusive to the properties in order for me to market it and find a purchaser for the property. You need to make sure that you get one of those in order to avoid being cut out the centre. Because if someone goes directly to the owner, they have the ability then to literally cut out the centre, and then you just pretty much done a lot of work for no gain. Does that make sense? So you can put it out on social media. You know, there's hundreds, thousands, and millions of people on social media. The deal's good enough, you'll know straight away whether your deal's great because it will sell immediately. Okay, so Marie's coming in with a question. She goes, what exactly do you mean by packaging the deal? Don't worry, Marie. We're going to go through that shortly. So keep moving on. Okay, so Stanford has said, can you elaborate on the process of deal packaging? Okay, don't panic. We're going to go through that. So in order, like I said, there's three people involved. So step one is the vendor. The first thing that you need to understand is what is their motivation and what is their pain. Because in order for you to find the angle for the property, every owner has got a problem. Now you've got to think about this logically. Now, if you're looking to sell your property, if you're selling your property, even though you're a property investor yourself, you may have approached an estate agent and they may have said, okay, Mr. Smith, yeah, we can put it on our books. You know, this is how much we're going to market it out with a view of achieving this figure. Now, but the problem is that you may have fallen in love with another property and you don't want to lose that property. And the one thing that you're conscious of is that because the property is so great that you've seen someone else may step in and try and take it from under your feet. And as a result of that, so there is going to be some form of motivation. And what we need to try and figure out is what is the pain, what is the motivation? So, you know, a lot of the pain could be that there could be repossession, there could be a divorce proceeding going on in the background, there could be marital issues, there could be financial issues, there could just simply be doing stuff like upscaling, downscaling, you know, and we get a lot of upscaling and downscaling, which means that they either want to go to a bigger house or they want to downscale to a smaller house. And as a result of understanding what that pain and motivation is, we now need to create a solution. We need to create a solution which will then create also a win-win-win scenario. We call it a win-win-win scenario purely because everyone has to be satisfied. The vendor has to be satisfied. You have to be satisfied that you're going to make some money out of it as well. And the purchaser has to be satisfied because if they're not, they won't buy the deal. And you have to make sure that you can profit out of it without being a busy fool, because you can spend, you know, the best part of a week running around doing this, that, and the other, and with no gain. But also, you need to have a look at how you can create the value. When we talk, we'll be talking about how to create the value shortly. And this, the third person is a purchaser. They've got to be satisfied with the transaction. As a result of that, you'll find that there'll be return of custom. So why trade deals? As a deal trader, it allows you to see the best deals first. And I can't stress that enough. The amount of deals that I see, and I think, you know what, that's great, I'll buy it myself. As a deal trader, you get to see all the deals and then you decide, yes, I like this, or no, I don't like it, or sorry, it's maybe too far out of my reach. And as a result, we'll put it out and we're going to, the whole point of being a deal trader is that you get to monetize every side of it, every deal that you see. So there shouldn't be, if you're a good enough deal trader, there shouldn't be a deal that sits on your desk that you shouldn't be able to monetize. We'll be going through all the different stages shortly. The beautiful thing about deal trading is that you don't need any money to get started. You just need lots of determination. There is no risk because if you don't sell it, nothing ventured, nothing gained. You haven't committed yourself to the purchaser. You haven't committed yourself to the seller. You haven't committed yourself to the purchaser, which means that it allows you to get fast results, and it's very easy to easy and quick to scale. And I'll put a comment on here that you can make holiday-sized bundles of cash from hobby amounts of time, basically saying that you can do this in part-time hours, but still make the kind of money, bundles of cash that you would in order to go on holiday. So anywhere, a small property, maybe from 3,000, scaling up to my best one that we did in 2017 was 60,000 for one deal. And it's the fastest way to reach your property cash flow goals. Okay, so what is flipping or what is trading? Sorry, some people say it's impossible. Not if you believe what novice and experienced property investors have been saying. It doesn't mean that we're literally trying to flip a house and put it on its side. all we're simply doing is negotiating a deal with the seller, packaging it, which means that once we've negotiated it, we've put together its benefits, its pros and cons, shall we say. So let's just use an example. That a 4-bedroom house with 2 reception rooms, potentially it has opportunity to be converted into flats, potentially has opportunity to be converted into a HMO, and it has a great cash flow strategy. And then we package that together, and then we put that out to our investor database, and we sell it, and we make a fee for our service. So that fee for that property could be anywhere between £3,000 and £5,000. Now, how did I come up with any? I'm not the first person to have come up with this strategy. Just so that you know, I started trading properties in the year 2000, and prior to the market crash, I was trading up to 30 properties a month. Believe it or not, we're actually doing more than that today. We were the first company nationwide to set up high street presence to give competitive advantage. And the reason why I say that is because whilst everyone was advertising in the back of the paper, I said, I'll tell you what, guys, instead of calling me on the phone, why don't you literally come and see me on the high street in Wolverhampton? We have multiple online and offline marketing strategies. We keep and give us a continuous flow of leads daily, and the majority of the leads that we generate are free. So here's some of the ways that you can source at least 10 deals a week. And these are pretty much straight away. You know, you could do this tonight. The following strategies are the most effective strategies that I use for 95% of my source deals. So social media, believe it or not, there are loads of deals on social media that just aren't packaged in the correct manner. We get a load of deals from estate agents, auctioneers, letting agents. We get a lot of deals from networking meetings from other property investors. We used to do a lot of bandit boards. We're talking about 2005, 2006. We don't do that anymore. We advertised very heavily at the football ground previously, at Wolverhampton Wanderers football ground. And that did really well for us, but it's an expensive strategy. So you've really got to be sure that you can sustain that marketing capability. We still advertise in supermarkets and shops. We get a lot of deals from the planning register. We used to advertise on billboards, and again, we've got our websites as well. So don't worry, I'm conscious of the fact that we're getting a lot of questions in, and I'll be coming back to those shortly. Now, one of the things is that we said at the start of the webinar, you don't need any money to get started, and I stand by that, because you aren't actually buying the property. You don't need the money for the deposit. You don't need the money for solicitors. You don't need the money for surveyors. You don't need the money for refurb, because you're not buying the property. You've got no intention of buying the property. All you're doing is pretty much like an estate agent. You're going there with a view of potentially saying to the owner, I'm not going to buy your property, but I've got someone that will. And as a result, you need to negotiate the deal. And you need to make sure that the deal is a viable deal in order for you to sell it onto your investor database. Some sourcing techniques are completely free, and other sourcing techniques may cost less than a family meal out. So for argument's sake, I'll talk shortly about a sourcing strategy that I use, which costs me £57, but gets me a lot of leads. And when we talk about no risk, it varies no risk. The only thing that you risk is some time. You don't own anything, so therefore there's nothing that can go wrong. Now, one of the people that I'm going to be talking about for the majority of this webinar is a young gentleman. I tried to get him online tonight. I couldn't, because the area that he's currently in is very poor for internet, or very poor for Wi-Fi, and as a result, if he came on, it may have disturbed the flow of the session. So it's a shame that he couldn't be on. But the person that you see on your screen tonight is a gentleman called RAHEEL'S. Now, he's a technical and procurement engineer living and working in Saudi Arabia on a short-term contract. As he speaks today, I spoke to him earlier today, he's actually in Kazakhstan. He's actually in Kazakhstan, and he's an expat working abroad. He earns a large salary due to the antisocial nature of the work, being in a foreign country away from his extended friends and family. Now, Here's something to take note of. He works 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, due to tight deadlines, which means that he works 72 hours a week. Which, when you read that, you'll like to think that he doesn't actually have a lot of time free. As well as that, he has a wife and he has 2 young kids, which are with him in Saudi Arabia. So he needs to make time for them, and also time to build a UK-based property business. Now, his reason why is very simple. He wants to break his trading time for money cycle. He wants to create a secure financial future for his kids. He wants to have the time to be with his kids and the money to support them in every way possible. And he's prepared to make a sacrifice now to build a better future for himself and his family. Now, one thing that you've got to think of is that with Raheel being in Saudi Arabia, most people think that to find BMW deals, you need to go direct to vendor. Some of these strategies may be leaflets, advertising newspapers, advertising on takeaway menus, and potentially even do some social media advertising. However, problem that Raheel's got is that living in Saudi Arabia, he doesn't have any of these options. And the reason why he says that is that he doesn't have time to take calls from vendors saying, can you sell me the property? Because at the time, so he decided to do something very simple. Living in a foreign country, Raheel is unable to view the property and also negotiate the price with the vendor. The restriction forces Raheel to work exclusively with estate agents. Okay, so we've got a question that's come in from Dom. Okay, we'll go through that in a short while. So Raheel has decided not to deal directly with vendors because he doesn't have the time to negotiate the deal, and more importantly, because of the distance, he hasn't got time. He wouldn't be able to go and view each property. So he decided to work exclusively with estate agents. And he started to find deals from the comfort of his own sofa. So he started using platforms such as Rightmove, Zoopla, Gumtree, and there's loads of other platforms that you can use. And these are platforms that we use pretty much every day. It seems too simple. Would you agree? Because these are all deals that are already in place with an estate agent. However, in 3 months, Raheel managed to trade 15 deals and made £15,000 in sourcing fees. Now, it doesn't seem a lot, 15 deals for £15,000, but in actual fact, he actually traded 15 deals and he actually generated £30,000 in sourcing fees, but he sold them through a different sourcer and he gave them 50% of the fees. So every deal was listed with an estate agent and found online, and Raheel hasn't physically viewed a single property. So Raheel's deal sourcing secret was very simple. Looking for deals across the entire country. And that's the beautiful thing with deal sourcing. Remember, I talked shortly earlier about estate agents, how they're geographically locked. As a deal sourcer, you can look for deals across the whole country just by using the platforms like Rightmove, Zoopla, and Gumtree. His view and train of thought is that he isn't going to live in them. He isn't going to view them. So why limit your search to just your investment area? And I know that this goes against the grain, against a lot of what other people say. And the reason why I say this is very simple. Now, I've trained Raheel. So I've said to him, look at the massive, you've got 2 options. You can either look at the little pond or you can go for the ocean. And that really is, that's my train of thought. I always look at the bigger picture. How many deals can I do? Am I going to get more deals out of the ocean than I'm going to get from the little pond? Why would I restrict myself to such a small area Ren, we've got such a vast area that we can go and get deals from. I'm based in Wolverhampton, and yes, I still look for deals in Wolverhampton, and I still buy deals in Wolverhampton. Remember, as a deal sourcer, I get first pickings at it. I can see the first deal and I'll look at it and say, yeah, okay, I like that. Well, if it's not for me, I'll pass it on to someone else. However, I also, when you see my emails come out pretty much every day, you'll see that we're putting deals out in Scotland, Liverpool, Newcastle, Manchester, Leeds, I was going to say Bournemouth. Bournemouth. We've done some deals in London. So I did some a deal in Earl's Court, did a deal out towards Kingston. So there's lots of deals all over the country. So you don't need to limit yourself to that certain area. So he searched the entire country and he focused on one region or a county for a week before moving on to another area. So systematically working himself through the entire region, through different regions. And once you repeat it once, you've covered the entire country, because deals will come up pretty much every day in certain locations. And that's one of the strategies that I kind of teach for auctions, because believe it or not, auctions run every month. And you're not going to get the same properties in next month's auction as you did last month. So as a result, one of the things that I do with deal sourcing, and we deal with auctions pretty much nationwide, is that we hit the auctions every month. And then as a result of that, covering the whole country, as a result of that, we then go and do it entirely again, because we now know that we've got a whole new level of properties, new properties to work with. So here's one of RAHEEL'S first deals. Now, it was in Utrecht Road, which is Stoke-on-Trent. Bearing in mind that RAHEEL was based in Saudi Arabia at this time. And he managed to source directly from an agent a 6-bed HMO producing just over £23,000 per annum. And he managed to negotiate the purchase price down to £140,000. And we sold that immediately to an investor off my database, generating a fee of £5,000. Now, RAHEEL made £2,500 literally for half an hour's work. We found the deal. We managed to speak directly to the agent. We got it locked out by using our lockout agreements. As a result of that, that was the deal. We sold it to an investor. They went and viewed it. They were happy with it. No, sorry, tell a lie. We put it out to our database. We sold it to our investor. He paid us our reservation fee, which is our finder's fee. We always take that up front so that we don't get cut out the centre. And then, providing that he viewed it and he liked it, we then moved on with financials and legals. The HMO was a professional setup HMO, and it was fully occupied and fully managed, making it a complete hands-off transaction. Now, this is a deal that he did. And he sold on the 17th of February in 2017. But as a result, he's done so many deals in 2017. There's one deal where he managed to speak to an agent, and the agent gave him a portfolio of 8 properties up in Sunderland. And again, one thing that RAHEEL's very good at is by finding the angle. Why is it such a good deal? He looks at it from a point of view is that, you know, as a property investor myself, would this appeal to me? And that's what I look at. So I look at it from a point of view is that, is this deal good enough for me to want to buy myself personally, if it is in the right location? So the deal was found on Gumtree. The agent took the pictures and created the floor plan. The agent negotiated with the vendor. The deal was sold to my database in a day, and it was sourced, negotiated and sold from the comfort of RAHEEL'S sofa in Saudi Arabia. Does that make sense? Is there any questions on that deal? Okay. Okay, so Philip Ward says, so what other costs are there for you? Legal costs. There aren't no legal costs because you're not actually getting involved in the transaction. Remember, you're putting the purchaser in contact with the seller. But in order for the purchaser to get in contact with the seller, they have to pay your fee beforehand or sign some form of NDA where you may be paid on completion. I like to think that we get paid first and then we put them together. I know other deal sources prefer to get paid on completion on the basis that NDA and other agreements have been signed in order to move forward with it. Let's it goes. So a sourcing deal of 5,000 is really what as a net figure before tax. So a couple of things that you've got to bear in mind is that you'll be paying some form of tax. So depending on how you set it up, whether you're paying income tax, corporation tax. So there are some of the costs that you'll need to take out there. Marketing costs. Okay, so we've got quite a few questions coming through. So marketing costs. There were no marketing costs because he found this online. He found this online. There were no legal costs because he didn't get involved in the transaction. So other than paying his tax, there are no other costs. Okay, so Dom says, I've been informed I would need to view before offering. Why do you need to view? Remember, you're not the seller. Why do you need to view? You're the trader. You're the estate agent in the centre. If they're telling you that you need to view, you're not saying the right thing to the agent. So what tasks did he perform? He pretty much got all the information from the agent. How many tenants are in the property? How much are they paying? Are they professional tenants? Are they benefit tenants? You know, how long have they been in the property? Have they got a copy of the tenancy agreements? These are some of the things that they needed in order to see whether it is a viable deal. How much is the market value? You know, how much is the purchase price? What's the discount? You know, other things that we need to have a look at is location. Why is it such a good property? What's the location of the property? So these are some of the tasks that Raheel had to perform, but he didn't personally review, go and meet the property or meet the owner, meet the vendor, because he can't. He's in a different country. So okay, so here's a question, interesting question. Tinashi said, how did Raheel establish that the vendor was motivated? The property was for sale. How much more motivation do you need? The property was for sale. Okay, so Elizabeth has asked a question. She goes, once the purchaser knows the postcode, can he not cut you out of the deal? That's a good question because we put up there the postcode. We've got no house number, but you could probably see from the picture the house number. But the good thing is that we've got exclusivity to the deal, which means that we cannot be cut out of the deal. So Shaquille has come and says, how long does a contract of exclusivity last? That all comes down to how good your negotiation is. Now, I've done deals before where I've managed to get 56 days. There've been other property where I've only managed to get 3 days. Okay, so Sigis says, what kind of fee would the agent want? Now, okay, Sigis, that's an interesting question. Why would the agent want a fee? Because the agent is going to make their money off the seller. You're making your fee off the buyer. We're gonna come through this. I feel like we're rushing ahead. We've got lots of questions, lots of people. Okay. Okay, so Stanford said, the non-disclosure agreement, is this done electronically or it had to be manually signed? How's the contract binding? Okay, it's all done electronically, all done via signable. You've got Adobe EchoSign, you've got signable, and it's all done via there. Okay. Interesting. Okay, we've got lots of questions about this property, and I'm happy to go through them. A lot of the questions, you're kind of talking yourself out of business. I'll be completely honest. Abdullah says, why would the estate agent agree to sell the property to someone without a credible bank statement? Now, you've got to remember, Abdullah, Raheel is not the buyer. Let me repeat that. Raheel is not the buyer. He's acting as almost like an intermediary agent to put the seller or the selling agent, which in this case was Reeds Rains, directly in contact with the buyer. I have access to the buyer, and we put the buyer in contact with Reeds Rains only once the buyer has paid us our fee. Does that make sense? So we'll keep going on. Okay, so Philip says, can you repeat that average exclusivity period? The average exclusivity period is around 2 weeks. I've managed to do deals before where we've got 56 days. I've got other deals where we've only managed to get 3 days. Okay, so there's lots of questions. I'm going to come back through this. Okay, so David says, if an EPT member deals via your database, is it 50-50 split? Yes, it is. Or that if someone sells a deal through my database, it is a 50-50 split on the fee. Okay, so let's keep moving on because I'm conscious of the fact that we've started to diverse away from, and we spent a lot of time talking. Wow, 45 minutes we've been online so far. Okay, so let's recap on RAHEEL'S story. He's a mechanical and procurement engineer living in Saudi Arabia. He wanted to build a better future for his family. He wanted to build a UK property business from Saudi Arabia whilst working 72 hours a week and without neglecting his family. Now, RAHEEL joined a program that I'm going to talk to you about shortly in January 2017. He sold his first deal on the 17th of Feb 2017 for £5,000 fee. Now, the reason why I call this the no excuses way to invest in property, because the only barrier to entry is your determination to make a better life for yourself and your family. And your success is guaranteed if you follow the proven system and you take committed action. That's all you have to do. Follow the process and take it through and committed action. So, going back, this is going to cover a lot of questions actually. Estate agents, why does estate agents need us? Estate agents will need your help as houses will not sell themselves. Homeowners will need your help as they've been let down by estate agents. Now let's think about what estate agents' pain and motivation is, because we talked about pain and motivation from the vendor. Let's talk about it from estate agents' point of view. They want to sell as many houses as possible. The more houses they sell, the more fees they generate. They want to sell houses quickly as possible. The quicker they can sell it, the quicker they get their fee. They want to sell them as easily as possible, so they want to generate their fee with doing as little possible as work as possible. They want to make their commission, which is key. An estate agency will not operate without making their commission. When they have a tired property, they will struggle to sell it a first-time buyer, because remember, that's who they predominantly pitch to. They pitch to people looking to move into the property. They kind of cut out the investor market. How many times, just out of curiosity, you guys listening on the webinar now, how many times have you walked into an estate agent and said, hi, my name's Mr. Smith, I'm a property investor, I'm looking for a tired property, How many times have they called you once you've left that office? Feel free to put your answer in the comments box. How many times have they called you and said, oh, Mr. Smith, I've got this fantastic property, Have they called you? Have they not bothered calling you? Okay, so Giuseppe said none. Dom said twice. Okay, so Dom, you've been quite lucky. David says, okay, yes, the response has been good. How many deals have they bought you, David? That's the question that I've got to ask. Okay, so Ellie says that they've called you 4 times. Now, Ellie, that you may be called 4 times because I've taught you a couple of times. Rex has said none. The reason why, so many times it's just a generic email, nothing focused. Great webinar. Okay, so John says I bribed them with gifts. Okay, we're going to be talking about bribing shortly. John says never, and the reason why is that they don't understand property investors. They just automatically assume that you're going to want 30 to 40% off the purchase price. Now you've got to remember that estate agents work off a commission of their sale value. So if the house is at £100,000, it's been marketed at £100,000, and you go and offer, let's just keep ease and numbers sake, you offer 50,000. Previously, if they're charging the vendor 1% of the sale value at £100,000, they're going to make £1,000. At £50,000, they're going to make £500. Do you reckon they're going to try and sell it to you for £50,000, knowing that you're going to sell it quickly, but make a massive reduction in their commission, or they're going to wait for a homeowner That may take 3 or 6 months, but try and sell it to them for 100,000 and make the full commission. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a key secret as to why estate agents hate investors. Apologies if you're an estate agent and you're listening, but you know it's true too. Sorry, tonight I've come out with some real hatred on estate agents, but I do love them. But they send me a load of deals, but it's taken me quite a long time to break down the barrier. And as a result of that, we've created a system which breaks down the barrier. Now, 2017, fantastic year. How many deals do you reckon I traded in 2017? And for those that are a little bit blind, I'll put it in the top right-hand corner here. We traded 483 deals in 2017, which is, I feel like I failed in 2017 because I set myself a target for 500 deals. First, I set myself a target of 300 and we sailed through that. And then I said, you know what, we're going to go to 500. And we didn't exactly hit 500. But would you be happy with 483 deals? I would be happy. All we did is we followed the simple 3-step system that I've been using since the year 2000. And it's the bulletproof system that has been tested in the rising market of 2006, the crash of 2008, and the flat market of 2010. The simple system is very simple. Source, package, sell. SPS, source, package, sell. Source, package, sell. There's lots of systems that I've got in place. Buy, rent, buy, sell, rent. Buy, sell, rent. Source, package, sell. SPS, buy, sell, buy, rent, sell. Buy, sell, rent. Yeah, BSR and SPS. We'll be talking about these. So there are a number of ways to source deals. Estate agents, letting agents, auctions, online platforms, other sources, and direct to vendors. Okay, so keep moving on. Estate agents, believe it or not, 90% of properties are sold through estate agents in the UK. They can actually become your unpaid sales force. The reason being is because they need your help. They need your help shifting tired properties that don't appeal to first-time buyers. Once you've earned their trust, you can call them. They will call you before anyone else and before they actually have it advertised. Here's some of the other owner sourcing techniques. So you can get a load of deals through estate agents. If you build a decent rapport with an estate agent, they will call you with deals. I get calls pretty much every day of agents up and down the country saying, Arsh, okay, I've potentially got this deal, are you interested? I get calls from auction houses up and down the country, Arsh, okay, here's our next lots, what do you reckon you can do with it? Get calls from estate agent, letting agents telling me, asking me if I want to take their properties on a long-term basis. So we've created almost like a rent-to-rent relationship with agents up and down the country. And you see some of these deals that come out. You know, we do a lot of direct to owner sourcing techniques. So leaflets, posters, postcarding, aging. Aging is where you get a load of old newspapers. Well, let's say that you buy a newspaper tomorrow and you see someone advertising in the back of the paper tomorrow trying to sell their house. You won't call them for the first 3 months, because if you call them in 3 months' time and they've still got that property for sale, basically you know that there's going to be some form of motivation. We do JVs with window cleaners and other tradespeople. So we do JVs with plumbers, gas plumbers, electricians, window cleaners, because these are people that go around fixing, helping, maintaining other people's properties, and they get to hear all the secrets that, believe it or not, estate agents don't even hear. So we've got medical cards, we've got death certificate folders, because people do die. Unfortunately, it's a secret that we don't all know, but we do all die, and we will all die. There's 2 things guaranteed in life, and that is taxes and death. And when we die, my father passed away a couple of years ago, and I was presented with this folder with his death certificate in. And it got me thinking that every person that dies, their family has to go and collect this certificate in this folder. And as a result, you know, how many people that pass away leave property in their will or in their probate? And the people that have just inherited it don't know what to do with it. So we put together some form of advertising off the back of that death certificate folder. It was very tasteful. So don't worry, we haven't just said, sorry, he's popped his clogs, can we help? Okay, sorry, I'm just going through some of the questions. So Tim's asked a question about how we're going to get through the dreaded questions. Don't worry, Tim, don't panic. Don't panic, we're going to get there. So as a result of that, you know, we've done a lot of deal with probate cases, with lots of letter series. We advertise on the back of takeaway menus. We did a lot of bus advertising, car ads. Basically, we try and advertise anywhere where we can see a massive public viewing it. And just give me an example. One of the reasons why I decided to advertise on football grounds is that I went to Wolverhampton Wanderers football match on Boxing Day a couple of years back. And I sat there. Unfortunately, Wolves wasn't playing the best at the football they've ever played. Sat around, my eyes started wondering. I thought, okay, bloody heck, okay, this game's a load of rubbish. I started looking around. I started watching all the advertising boards. And I thought, okay, if I've just done that, and there's 28,000 other people sat in this stadium, how many other people are looking at the advertising boards? And I could pretty much name all the advertising boards that were there. And so we put our advertising board there, and we did really well off that, off the Wolverhampton Wanderers ground. It is an expensive strategy of marketing, but it really works. Now, here's some of the people just like you who have succeeded at deal trading. So we've got Vicky Hughes, we've got Alfred, we've got, oh, you're going to try and get me to do all the names now. I'm rubbish with names. We've got Pauline, we've got Chris. Believe it or not, Chris is actually based in Bulgaria, and he's deal sourcing from Bulgaria. We've got Ryan Brown. Oh, we've got Sandy, we've got Daryl, we've got Graham. Graham Dixon and Daryl, they've formed a bit of a partnership. Sandy has done really well, sourcing deals direct from auctions. We've got Simon Paul, we've got Saranjit, we've got Desi. We're going to be talking about these young gentlemen shortly. We're going to be talking about this young lady shortly and this young lady shortly. For those that were on the webinar last Sunday, New Year's Day, Christina Peake is the lady on the right. She started deal sourcing just over a month ago and managed to source her first 3 deals. We've got Tutu in the centre, and we've got Russell on the left-hand side. We'll be talking about them shortly. We've got Ellie, who's completely new to, actually, Ellie may be online. Let's have a quick look. So Ellie is online. Hi, Ellie, hope you're well. So Ellie came and shadowed me in the office for a day in my office in Wolverhampton. And as a result, we managed to find her a deal that day. We've got Martin Webb, who's in the centre there. And we've got Helen and Gareth Firth, who source predominantly only from estate agents. They don't do anything other than agents. And we've got Martin, who's doing deals with vendors directly and auctioneers and estate agents. And then we've got Girish, who only sources properties directly from landlords direct. And his angle is purely on a rent-to-rent basis. Now, Tutu, let me introduce you to Tutu. Tutu started deal sourcing in June 2017. Her aim was simple: to source properties purely for herself, sell nothing, and keep everything for her own portfolio with no money. So within 6 months, she's managed to source and retained 9 rent-to-rent properties all around the Midlands, and is netting approximately £8,000 per month cash flow, which has given her circa around £100,000 per annum income. All within 6 months, no previous experience, and she simply followed the system to a T. Okay, so here's the questions. Right, so Timothy has been asking me, he goes, Arsh, tell us, what are these questions? So why would someone sell us their house cheap? Because they don't know what it's worth. They only know the price that they're hoping to sell for it, because their reason for moving is stronger than the price that you pay, because they have no other options. So here's some of the motivations: upsizing, downsizing, moving closer to the family, potentially a new job, different part of the country, lost their job, probate, in debt and divorce. Now, the beautiful thing is with seller motivation, in every single case, speed is more important than price. Now, one thing that, Tim, I'm going to say this to you, is that the first question, if you go in there and you try straight away and negotiate on price, you are going to fail. I'll be extremely surprised if you go in there and say, hi, my name's Tim. I've seen your house. It's £100,000. I'm going to offer you £80,000 for it today. They will say, thank you very much for coming, Tim. There's the front door. Don't let it hit you on the way out. Does that make sense? Because you haven't actually listened and considered what are they looking to get? What is their pain and what is their motivation? Believe it or not, speed is more important than price. You need to understand what their pain and their motivation is. Before you can buy their house, you need to know why they want to move. So questions that you could be looking at is, just out of curiosity, what is the scenario? I've got a list of 21 different questions before we even get to price. Price is the last thing on my mind. And I'll repeat that. Price is the last thing on my mind. We don't aim to talk about the price until literally, hopefully, an hour or 2 hours in whilst we're at the property. I want to understand who we are, who the people are, where are they, have they got to this stage of their life, whether they're upscaling, downscaling, whether they're going through divorce, whether they're going through financial difficulty, who are they, what they are, where they're going, how are they getting there, what are they requiring to get there. Because we need to understand a couple of things as well before we even go into that meeting. What is the market value? How realistic is that market value? What is the kind of figure that you would like to buy it at? And potentially there's hope value. What is the price that do they want? Does that kind of make sense? But we don't disclose that, but we've got that in the back of our mind when we're speaking to them pretty much all the time. Other questions that I ask about is potential remaining mortgage. Is there a mortgage on the property? Do you have any outstanding debt? What's the, we also look at where they're moving to, why they're moving, or, are they reliant on the funds out of this property to move to the next property? What I'm trying to build up is a picture. What I'm trying to build up is a picture as to what is it that they actually require from me. What is it? How can I create a good enough solution for them to say yes to me? In an ideal world, if their house is worth £100,000, in an ideal world, really, they would want 105,000. Why would they want 105,000? 100,000 for the sale of it, potentially 5,000 to help them with the moving cost towards to move into their next property. But let's face it, it's never going to happen. But I don't tell them that. What I want to understand is who they are, where they're going to, and how can we move. So give me an example. If the market value is 135,000, what they actually need to move, is 80,000. What you want to pay is 100,000. The price that they want is 110,000. When we're talking about agreeing a purchase price, you are not buying their house. In essence, what you're doing is you're actually giving them their reason for moving faster than anyone else. So the price is the last thing that we mention. They've got to fall in love with you and what you are about and how you can help them. Does that make sense? If they're relocating closer to their grandchildren, you need to ask them if their time with their grandchildren is more important to them than the house price they hope to achieve or receive. If they're moving into their dream house, you can ask them what they want more, to be living in the house of their dreams or be waiting for another 3 to 6 months before they can sell their house for its hope value. Okay, so David says it would be useful to idea the questions 1 to 21, 2 to 21, etc. And believe it or not, we've actually got a whole sheet of that, and I share that with a lot of my mentees. So remember, the questions very much are catered not around the price. The price is the last thing that we want. If you start to mention price, and going back to your question, Timothy, what is the one question that's going to stop the negotiation dead. The question that's going to stop it dead is, how much are you looking, how much do you want to sell your house for? No, it's not even how much you want to sell your house for. It's how much you want for your property. Because naturally, they're going to say, if the market value is 100,000, they're going to say 100,000. Anyone in their right mind would say 100,000. John says, if you source from an estate agent, they don't know the answers to these questions. That's very true, John, but also in the same respect, they would also have built up a lot of rapport with their vendors. So they would know a lot of information. You're just assuming that they don't. Does that make sense? So here's some of the locations that we've dealt with. And believe it or not, when we're deal sourcing, we're not just looking at below market value opportunities. Now, Amanda says, surely you're looking for B&B property. Not necessarily, Amanda, because sometimes we have a look at what is the property now and what can it become? And will it be worth more then when we create it into what it could become? So I'll give you an example. Let's just say a house that's a 4-bedroom house. If it's as a house, it's worth 100,000, but as 2 1-bedroom flats, it may be worth, let's say, 150,000. Do you mind giving them 100,000 for it? And this is where a lot of investors fail. Because they automatically assume if it's 100,000, we have to offer 75. And that's why you will never get off the first, that's why you will never get a phone call from the estate agent. They think automatically they're a shark and they want as much off from the property as possible. We're not calling them. We'll see if we can get more from owner occupier. Now, you would have seen some of these deals. We sent these out last week, just before Christmas. So these are really, quite fresh and quite new. And we sold these very easily. So here's a property here. It's got 2 shops. We've got a carpet shop there. We've got a convenience store. We've got planning permission for 4 flats above it. So a mixed-use commercial, planning permission to create for apartments. Purchase price 250,000, finder's fee 5,000. Current income off the 2 shops is 25,000 per annum. Potential gross income 46,600 per annum. With it's got the plan for limited. We've managed to secure mixed-use commercial property comprising of 2 flats and 2 shops, and planning permission for 4 flats. The work had been started, but it was nowhere near finished. Here's another one. A HMO up in Doncaster. Again, we've sold this. 15% below market value, 32% return on investment. So do you see the kind of terminology that we're using to sell properties here? Return on investment, below market value. Income producing, HMO, recent valuations. And these are, believe it or not, this is a template that I've created that you'll pretty much see every day on your email. Admittedly, I don't make any apologies for the emails that we send out, because we send out a lot of emails. I get that. Here's another property up in Hartlepool, 50% off valuation. And we had a report based in October 2016 to confirm the purchase price. So the valuation price of £270,000 to £290,000. So it's 6-bed HMO with 3 en-suites, fully licensed HMO, fully refurbished throughout, split over 3 levels, close to Hartlepool town centre. So these are all deals that we sourced directly. Now, you guys do the maths. 483 deals, the average sources fee £4,000. And it's cost me nothing to get involved into those deals. We're dealing directly to all kinds of mediums. So we're dealing with property professionals, we're dealing with property professionals, we're dealing with estate agents, letting agents, auction houses, platforms, we're dealing with other investors, we're dealing with other sources, and all we simply do, we SPS, source, package, and sell. You are what you do, not what you'll say you do. Pretty much, to summarize that, I'm a doer, I'm not a talker. When I say I'm going to do something, I'll crack on and do it. And that's why the beautiful thing with me is that I'm a property investor first and foremost. I'm a trainer secondary, but I only train stuff that I've talked about. So I created something in 2015 called the Elite Property Tribe, and I wanted to create a platform to create the UK's best deal sources. So I created a program, which is a 52-week program of online training, which with me directly, where we cover 6 cash flow strategies: deal trading, rent to rent, lease options, HMO, service accommodation, commercial to residential, just to name a few. Where over a period of 52 weeks, I'll give you everything that you need to succeed with each of the 6 cash flow strategies, which are all the contracts, all the checklists, all the profit calculator spreadsheets, and all the proven sourcing templates. And the beautiful thing with the Elite Property Tribe, it's not only a mentorship, it's an accountability program, because I'm always on the end of the phone, which means that you'll have my personal mobile number, and anytime you run into a roadblock, you just pick up the phone. Here's something that I'm very key on. I only teach strategies that I've done myself. I've suffered through the costly mistakes so that you don't have to. So for 52 weeks, you'll get weekly training and a Q&A webinar for a whole year to give you the skill set, motivation that you need to source, trade deals, and flip houses. You get access to an online portal with all the previous webinar recordings, just in case you missed one of the live events. You get access to all my proven leaflets, magazine adverts, 3-part letters that you can use to source deals immediately. You get access to my power team, which is my architects, accountants, lawyers, mortgage brokers, who I use on a day-to-day basis. And you get to join a supportive community of motivated property investors that are determined to change their lives. They will inspire you with their success and share their experiences so that you avoid costly mistakes and shortcut your success. We also meet up once a quarter. So the next one, believe it or not, is this Saturday. So Saturday, 13th of Jan, and we've got 3 great speakers. So we've got someone talking about creative financing, how to get all your money out of the deal if you decide to buy properties yourself. We've got someone talking about commercial to residential, and we've got one of the other EPT members talking about their journey as to how they've done, how they've managed to do a number of deals within a very short space of time. And as an EPT member, you get to sell every deal you source in less than 2 days when you JV with me to my 100,000 database, 100,000 investor database who are hungry for your BNB deals. You get access to a private WhatsApp group for further group discussion, and you instantly become a lead magnet that effortlessly pulls in 6 to 10 deals a month. And you'll manage to dodge the "how much will you give me for my house" bullet that stops most negotiations dead, and find out why they want more. Give them this and the purchase price will become an afterthought. And how to shine a spotlight on your deal so it sells instantly to my database. And finally, how to build a lasting relationship with investors so that they become repeat customers for your deals and houses. And we'll also be looking at stuff like how much is too much when it becomes a sourcing fee. And that's a simple calculation. Never to sell yourself short and create a win-win-win for you, the vendor, and the investor. And you'll know how to, with solid confidence, how to flip houses every month for 10 to 40,000 without having to buy them or pay for a refurb, simply just by adding value without doing the refurb. And I'll also be sharing with you the classified credit card sized advert that has made the phone ring for months. Oh, and the one thing that I have forgot to mention is that I'm very accessible to the people of the Elite Property Tribe. You actually have the ability to come and shadow me in my office anytime throughout that year. So I've got people, so one of the ladies that were on last week's webinar, Christina P, she comes to my office, believe it or not, most Fridays. Ellie, who we mentioned on the webinar, she comes in, she's been in quite a few times. I've had a number of different, you have a dedicated time to be able to call me. So we have a booking system for you to book calls, and we can speak to me about any of your different deals. I have a whole 52-week agenda as to the kind of stuff. So here's some of the stuff that we cover. So we look at rent to rent, we look at the rent to rent calculators, how to negotiate a rent to rent deal with a landlord, how to negotiate a rent to rent deal with agents, the kind of paperwork you require, why they require that. Okay, so David says, can we attend live meetups via Skype? Yes, you can. So if you're not in the country like Raheel can't make the live meetups, but he does it via, we do a live, almost like a live Skype session. It's pretty much like a webinar that you're watching now, but you get to see all the people that are presenting. So what's the cost of it? Normally, if you come on my one-to-one mentorship, it's £12,000. But what we tend to do is the full price of the EPT is £6,000. But I'm committed to your success. I don't want 6,000. You have to. The only thing that you have to pay up front is 3,000, and then the other 3,000 is paid when you succeed. So really, you're paying 3,000 for a full year's education, 52 webinars, 4 live meetups, unlimited phone access to me, as many days in my office as you want, the WhatsApp group, the Facebook group, and the property platform. And to make it even better, we've got options for you to pay. So you can either pay a one payment of £3,000 up front, or you can use the payment plan of 3 payments, 3 successive monthly payments. And the one thing that we do, we always offer 100% money back guarantee. So here's how it works. If you join the EPT and participate in the weekly webinars, if you can't, if you're not completely satisfied after 30 days, send me an email and I'll give you a full refund. No questions asked, no hassles, no forms to fill out, no problems at all. So in order for you to join the EPT, very simply, all you do is you copy that link, so arshellahi.com/EPT 2018, and the first webinar starts on Wednesday, the 7th of Feb. And just so that you know, it will take you to a page that looks like this. So yes, I want to join the EPT because I want to transform the quality of my life with cash flow. I'm prepared to do something about it. Just confirming that's a 52-week education program that gives you more with the latest tools. And you've got the option of paying in full payment, and you've got option to pay in 3 part payments. So Christina started with me in June, I think June 2017. Within a month, she managed to get 3 HMOs in Doncaster, each generating a fee of £3,000 each. Russell, believe it or not, is another person that lives abroad. He's actually based in Marbella. He learned how to trade deals in 2017. In February, he sold his first deal for £3,000, and he's gone on and sourced lots of deals through auction houses where the cost is 0, and the cost was sold in less than a day. So, okay, so David says 12K became 6. No, if you were to do a one-on-one mentorship with me, it would cost you 12,000, but that's not what's on offer. The Elite Property Tribe is 6,000, but you only pay 3,000 up front, and the other 3,000 is payable once you do deals. Does that make sense? So Russell has done all this whilst living abroad in Marbella. So just so that you know, some of the people that we've got at EPT, we've got Russell, who lives in Marbella. We've got Raheel, that lives in Saudi Arabia. We've got a lady called Kiran, that's based in Kenya. We've got a person called Chris Dench, who I mentioned earlier in the webinar. He's based in Bulgaria. So these are all guys that are all doing deals, and they're based abroad. Now, my question is, are any of the people that I've shown you today any different to you? The answer is no, they're not. They simply put their doubts aside for long enough to give this a try at no risk to them. And they've achieved unbelievable results in just 1 month. Results that have been able to replicate month after month. Just imagine that day, never having to do a day's work for anyone else for the rest of your life. No more boss, no more commuting, no more pressures, no more financial worries. And imagine that day having a business that fits around your family commitments, so you never have to miss your kids' plays, concerts, or sports matches. And how good will it feel one day to write your own letter of resignation, because for the last 3 months you've been making over £5,000. So just to clarify, you join the EPT today for only £3,000. You can either pay it in one payment or 3 successive monthly payments. So some people say it's still impossible. Can a simple system really do this for you? Because absolutely, as you've seen with the success of Raheel, along with all the other people that we mentioned in tonight's webinar, with all the odds stacked against him, he's still succeeded. I should have mentioned in there that he's also sourced his own portfolio of rent-to-rent properties. He's sourced a block of 6 rent-to-rent properties, and they're actually based in Warsaw, which is in the West Midlands. So not only is he sourcing stock for him to trade, but he's also sourcing stock for his own portfolio as well. The one thing I'd like to say that it's not in my interest to make false claims, because I'm investing, believe it or not, the other 3,000 into your success. I want you to see you succeed, because once you succeed, that's when we get paid, the other 3,000. I'd like to see the EPT and deal trading giving you the luxury you've always wanted. And again, it's backed by my 100% money back guarantee, 30-day 100% money back guarantee. So I'm going to spend, what we'll do is we'll spend the next 20 minutes just going through some of the questions. So Pete says, can you put the link back up? So there it goes. So it's arshellahi.com/EPT 2018. Okay, so David says, also, do you entertain multiple members on any one day regarding shadowing? Yes, we can do. What I tend to find, David, is that it actually works really well when I've got 2 or 3 members in the office, because we can get them to set tasks, and altogether you can learn and do multiple things, which brings multiple levels of success throughout the day. So Eunice says, what are the requirements to join the EPT? So ideally, what the requirements are that you've got to have the ability to, you've got to spend some time. You've got to be able to spend some time doing making some calls, building some relationships. First of all, you've got to commit to the EPT by paying the £3,000 to join the EPT. We'll then get you enrolled onto the platform. We'll then get you enrolled into the WhatsApp group. If you join before the end of this week, you've got the opportunity to come to the live event. You've got the opportunity to come and shadow me in the office. When it comes to requirements, really, there aren't many requirements, as long as you've got the ability to show some commitment to the program. Does that make sense? Okay, so question from Amanda: do we need to register with FCA for compliance purposes? If so, can anyone do that? Yes, Amanda, that's the honest answer. Anyone can be compliant. Anyone can be compliant. So with regards to compliance, you do have to be registered with people like the FCA, HMRC. You've got to be registered. If you're going to be taking the money yourselves, so just so you know, if you JV with me, I'm already compliant. So I will handle all that side for you, so you don't have to be compliant. However, if your long-term goal is to set this up so that you're running it solely and independently, which I hope you do, then as a result of that, then yes, you need to be registered with MLR, Money Laundering Regulations, FCA. You need to be registered or set up almost like under the Estate Agency Act with HMRC. And then ultimately, you've also got to be part of the, what's it called? The rent-to-rent scheme. Sorry, my mind's gone blank. It'll come back to me in a second. The scheme that you have to be part of the rent-to-rent. Someone mentioned it. And it'll come back to me in a second. Someone mentioned it a short while ago. It'll come back to me. So yeah, the PRS, that was it, property redress scheme, and also part of the ombudsman scheme as well. So yeah, on average, it's the best part of £2,000 a year. But saying that, £2,000 a year, which is equivalent to just under £200 a month, you're making £5 a month. You don't mind paying the compliance, and more importantly, it gives your buyers the comfort knowing that they're dealing with a credible company. Because if you're going to say that I'm not compliant, but you still got to pay me £5, they're going to say, well, I'm not too, a lot of people have been burnt in the past with deal sources who have just run off with their money. You don't want to be that person. And the fact that I've been running for 18 years and I've never had a single person who has had an issue. If someone wants a refund on their fee because they're not happy with the property, let them have it. So John has said, how many EPT intakes do you do a year? We do 2 intakes a year, but this is the last time it's been offered at this price. So this is the last time it's been offered at this price. When we offer it again in June, the price will have been increased. So if you want to join and you want to get it at a discount, that's the time to get it. Okay, so Wahid says, what do you get out? Why are you sharing your business? Wahid, okay, the honest answer is I want you to bring deals into me so that we can sell them onto our database. I'm one of the largest property sources or networkers around in the country, and I want to continue with that. I'm also working on other projects where you can actually source, well, I won't talk about that yet actually, because that's still in very early stage, so I won't see that until towards the tail end of the year. So Timothy said, I work the annual cost of compliance is around £2,500. It is between £2,000 and £2,500, so yeah, it's about £200 a month, as I mentioned. Okay. So, you've got to, I'm just going to quickly, if we continue to JV with you long term, will we have to set up a business? If you JV with me long term, then no, you won't, because you'll be running under my brand. And the one thing that I will do, one of the questions are, let me quickly go through some questions. Okay, so Kanarika, I hope I've pronounced your name correctly. Kanarika, let's just see if she's still online. Kanarika, yes, she's online. So one thing she says, do you need some credentials to prove you're a reliable deal sourcer? Now, the one thing that I'll say is that anyone that's in the EPT and does this, they can use my name as leverage. Does that make sense? Because I've already got that credibility out in the UK property network anyway. So you could say I'm working with one of my business partners, is a chap called Arsh Ellahi. Here's who he is. Feel free to Google him, and once they Google my name, they'll see that I write for credible magazines. They see all the content that we put out, and it's very rare that we've found that there's been an issue with that. Ben says, I assume you pay a solicitor to draw up legal papers. No, believe it or not, you don't need to. You don't need to, because I've already got all the documents. Sorry, someone's just asked me a question. Okay, so Paul said, hi Arsh, I went on yours and Neil Ward's Deal Sourcing Week workshop back in 2015. Is there much difference between this course and that? Believe it or not, Paul, it's like chalk and cheese. Remember, you've got 52 weeks with me. You've got 52 weeks with me, and if you don't think that you're going to get enough value out of 52 weeks, we generally take around 30 people per intake. Okay, so Pete Ledger says, how do we get on your investors database? Believe it or not, Pete, by becoming on this webinar, you will by tomorrow be on my database. So just having a quick look. Will there be an ongoing fee for passing you deals? Any deal that comes through to my gets sold through to my database is a 50-50 JV. 50-50 JV on the fee. So let's just have a quick look. Let's just have a. Okay. Okay. So Here we go. So Elizabeth said, I've just met with someone who said you are a trustworthy person. I thought I would just mention that. Thank you very much. By all means, do your research on me. I've got no issue with that. Do your research on me. Google me, whatever. You won't find a bad word said against me because I believe in ethical business practice. And as a result of that, you know, I've got far too much to lose for the sake of £3,000. You know, if someone says to me at the end of the 30 days that they don't want to proceed and they don't want to be part of the documents compliant in Scotland as well as England. Well, when it Giuseppe, just when it comes to, for argument's sake, lease options and stuff like that, you know, there will be certain things that we will need to adapt for Scotland. But you know, all the other documents that as far as we're aware, is compliance. But you know, we've done some deals in Scotland, like the exclusivity agreement definitely is compliant. I know that you've got the home buyers report, and so there are certain things that we have to adapt for the Scottish market. But if you look through back my emails, I think we've done about 6 or 7 deals in Scotland this year. Oh, sorry, in 2017. So I'll just kind of have a quick look if there are any other questions. Let's have a quick look. Are there any other questions? If it's a 50-50 JV, do we get paid £1,500 per deal? No. So Wahid said if it's a 50-50 JV, if we sold the deal for 3,000, then yes, obviously it's £1,500. If we sold it for 5,000, then it's 2,500, and whatever the fee may be. So just giving you an update of where we are. So you get weekly training, you get a Q&A webinar to give you the skill set and the motivation and the mindset to help you to source trade deals. You get access to an online portal. You get to JV with me to sell my deals, which we only do to EPT members. You get access to my private Facebook group and the Q&A support. You get access to a private WhatsApp group for further group discussion and Q&A support. We meet up every quarter. We meet up every quarter, and you get access to my power team as well as the shadowing. So as you can see here, here's the WhatsApp group. Here's one that I took from, I think it was from last week. So Jason said that he sent out a contract to his first rent-to-rent deal of 2018, direct to landlord. We did a viewing for one of our houses. Also in the process of buying 2 HMO properties up north. Pushing ahead, exciting times ahead this year. Wishing everyone huge success. So, and here's the property platform. So it's elitepropertytribe.co.uk. As you can see, so every year we also create something called the EPT buddy scheme. So we buddy people up within this the EPT so that you can start to work together with each other as well. You can see that we get the live meets, we've got the events and the useful contacts there. We've also got access to all my flow charts, which makes it a lot easier for you to understand the whole process. So that kind of brings us to the end. I want to say kind of thank you for taking the time to learn the secrets of deal trading. I hope you now understand how you can use this system to achieve your property cash flow goals. And if there are any other questions, you know, I'm assuming there will be some questions. Feel free to. I'm going to be available for the next half hour, by the way, guys. If anyone wants to have a chat, you can go. You can call me directly on my mobile, which is 07967 016 425. You can email me directly, or you can go directly to elitepropertytribe.co.uk, and you can actually see one of the videos that we've got up there. Some of the other members and what they've done. Are there any other questions before we close? Are there any other questions before we close off? I'm just trying to. Someone said, "Can you put the link back up?" So the link's just at the bottom there. Okay, so I believe that kind of brings us to the end of the session. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Hopefully you found it of use. Okay, so here's a question. I'm based in London. So sorry, this is from Oladeo. I'm based in London. How easy can deals be done in London? London is as easy as everywhere else because pain still exists in London. Motivation still exists in London. If anything, motivation and pain is more accessible in London than anywhere else because the cost of living is higher, the cost of the properties are a lot higher, and as a result, there's no reason why you can't do a deal. So, Wahid says, sorry, I missed first part of the show. How much can I earn first year? It all comes down to, Wahid, how much time you're prepared to put in. And as a result of how much time you're prepared to put in, the more hours you put in, the more success you're going to get. And it really is as simple as that. The more relationships you're going to build, the better you're going to become at this. So, guys, on that note, like I said, I'm available on my phone for the next half hour. If anyone wants to have a chat, more than happy to have a chat. And I wish you all the very best for the evening and wish you all a happy and healthy year ahead. Take care. Good night. God bless.